Welcome to the All Ambient podcast, where we dig into the creative process, hear untold stories, and explore the brilliant minds behind some of the finest ambient music out there. I'm your host, Mike Graff. I'm excited to be in this together with you. Let's get going. Again, welcome to the podcast, everybody. My name is Mike Graff. I make music as Dear Gravity. So glad to have you. Got to talk with a wonderful musician, composer, producer. Domy Castellano joined us today. Domy is a world-class composer, has such a driven focus, and yet has a very curious, in the best way, a very lighthearted approach to all that he does, and I love his energy. The conversation is inspiring. The conversation is thoughtful. It is a joy to not just listen to his music, but to listen to his heart. So we get to explore all sorts of fun things today. Let's not wait any longer and get right into the conversation with Domy Castellano. Everyone, what a joy today to be able to sit down with none other than Domy Castellano. Domy, welcome to the All Ambient podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. It goes both ways for sure.
Yeah.
Remind me and all of us what part of the world you are coming to us from right now.
Well, right now I'm streaming from Italy, from the southern part of Italy, which, it's a pretty great place to be if you're on a vacation. So
Amazing.
Keep that in mind, maybe.
Well, come say hello next time I'm over. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh, that's great. Did you grow up in southern Italy?
Yeah, definitely. I've been here since I was born and never left till now.
Wow.
But, I think I'm going to stay here. I like the place.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to move a little bit on the, countryside stuff like that because I like nature, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's my life goal right now, actually. After completing the studio, that has been my life goal.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more. But yeah, of course. I mean, if you're from a place as beautiful as that, what is perhaps the reason that one would want to go elsewhere?
I was lucky,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, hey, I'm really excited to explore a lot of territory, Domy. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but I would love to start at the very beginning. I'd love to hear whatever you want to give, the short version, the long version of your story growing up, but really of where music entered your life and where you started realizing that it was a prominent part of what life was going to look like for you.
Well, as many other people in this, let's say, industry, there was maybe a parent, someone older than you, just, showing you what music is and,
sure.
Sharing their favorite pieces of music and stuff like that. That figure for me, like at the very beginning, was my father. He used to just turn on the radio and make me listen since he was a DJ when he was a young boy.
Oh,
and,
for real?
Yeah, it was like a radio DJ, like we're super old school. I mean, like something like, I don't know, maybe 45 years ago or something like that. So that was my first approach. And definitely my mother and my father saw that, I was pretty interested in that because I was, trying to play rhythms on every surface available. And after that, they said, instead of making noises on chairs and stuff like that, let's try to buy him like a little electric piano. So they did that, the little electric keyboard. And, I started staying there for like hours every day. Instead of playing like the PlayStation, which was like PlayStation 1 was the thing when I was like little. I used to stay a lot in front of that keyboard. It also featured, like synthesizer patches and stuff like that. I used to play around with those without understanding a single thing, of course. But, after that, immediately they tried to send me to a music school. And, no surprise, as soon as it started to become something that I had to study instead of just playing, I started sort of, not having fun anymore. But,
right,
but
sure.
At the end of things, I really am super thankful for my parents because they forced me sort of to keep going in that direction. And now it's thanks to them that I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So even, as a kid, you don't necessarily know exactly what's best for you. But, if you have like good providers, then you can, you have someone that can give you a nice direction to follow. And that's exactly what happened to me. Even if I didn't want to study, I actually found that after all this that I really, really enjoy studying, and, I enjoy honing the craft of music in general. And that's the thing. Now I can't get enough of it. It's like a literal drug every day.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. What was kind of that age where your parents put you into like the study of it and you were getting more into that? How old were you at that point?
Well, I started actually like going to a music school at 6 years old, but then, I started, it's pretty young, but I mean, I know some people that started at 2 years old, but it's pretty average, Yeah, after that, I actually got into my first conservatory. I think it was maybe 6-7 years later, something like that. Then it was very, very painful for me because I had like this super strict classical teacher that only listened to classical music, and all the other genres are completely, out of, the picture. So, that helped a lot actually, because if you have a good foundation with classical music, that helps you a lot in all the other genres. So I'm also thankful for that. I'm a true believer that, in everyone's life, everything happens for a reason. So probably, all the path I got in my life, it was for a certain reason, even if it seems like a negative thing in that moment. But yeah, super thankful for my teacher as well.
Absolutely. From the conservatory, to have a teacher who just so well versed in classical music, but perhaps maybe with horse blinders on, like just focusing on classical music.
Definitely.
How did that influence you in the sense of like, do you carry some of that same view of music, of classical music today? Or was that perhaps, sometimes the story can go where somebody's focus on, you can only do this, will influence us to perhaps feel the polar opposite of that, and you don't want to do anything besides that or that sort of thing. And perhaps it's less of a study of the classical technique in music, but more so, just how did that influence where you're headed with your own compositions these days?
Well, one thing I notice is that what we are trying to do these days is, music composers or, content creators with music and stuff like that. It's very similar to what they used to do, like back in, I don't know, like the era of Chopin or Debussy, or even like Liszt and stuff like that. All those people used to write, even Bach, like one of the most magnificent composers of all time. Like they used to write for in exchange of money. So first of all, I found many things in common, like with what we do today, the struggles and the joys of today's musicians with, the musicians and composers of that era. And so that first thing made me think, we're not so different. So like, I think back then, classical music was not considered classical. It was considered like super innovative. So same thing for us today. So there's no need to just think of something, okay, that is the pinnacle of something, and all the other things are not worth it. Because, my teacher was super strict, so strict that he used to say that jazz music ruins your hands as a piano player. So that is the level. Yeah, that is the level. But it's not his fault. His teachers used to say something like that, and they were even worse, like in terms of being strict compared to him. So it's like a relationship between parents and children. It's like you absorb like a sponge whatever they teach you. So I really, again, that's why I'm thankful. And thanks to all the experience I had with classical music, I understood that, every genre can be like, I don't know how to say this. It's just that there's no need to be racist like towards a certain genre, because, it's all music is beautiful if it's done properly, if it's done correctly, if it's done like with heart. So no need to be strict or whatever. So yeah, actually classical music taught me how to be open-minded about things, which is, quite unique. But yeah, that's what I got from classical music.
I love that. And everyone's got a different journey in a sense, but I love just how that shaped and molded your approach and it shows in a beautiful way in all the work that you're doing. And I was just enjoying so many incredible releases, but was just soaking in the latest Echoes in the Valley song that you put out on the release that just came out a little while back. And man, just beautiful.
Thank you so much. But in this regards, let me tell you this again, since I told you this like in our private conversations, your track Aurora, I'll tell you this in Italian, Aurora, it's maybe one of my favorite ambient tracks ever, man. I told you before, I used to listen to that daily when I started doing ambient music. And it's because it's such a wonderful piece of music, like with the orchestral swells and all of those beautiful things. It reminded me a lot of Thomas Newman and similar things, same quality. I mean, it's beautiful. Wow. Just wanted to say this again and again, because I'm going to say this again, because it's a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah, well, I receive the encouragement and the affirmation. Thank you for that. But man, sitting in equal company, just really glad to not only, speaking with you and, to consider ourselves more than just acquaintances, but, also to begin to make stuff together. And we can talk more about that as we go here.
Yes.
But, man, I love kind of the story of coming up. So let's transition a little bit more to the present day. Tell me more about kind of what, and just to clarify, Domy, you're in music full time? Yes, this is 100% of your focus.
Yes,
awesome.
Yes,
Very
cool.
Out.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I always love talking creative process, and we'll probably get into that a little bit. But just practically, like, what does a typical week look like for you? Or are you the kind of guy who really likes to schedule out your hours and your days, or do you just kind of have more of a general idea, like, you know what, I'm going to work on something this week, and it's more organic, a little bit more loose? Tell me about what your work week looks like.
Well, since I have a super strong routine, I usually, after I wake up, I just go, I hit the gym. After that, my day is fully committed to making music. So that's the thing. I mean, the only exception is when I have clients for maybe other things, which could be, I don't know, post-productions and stuff like that, some advertisement, working on some advertisement and stuff like that. But usually after my workout and after getting some nutrients from food, I actually dedicated my whole day to make music in general. So I actually like to schedule things like, okay, this week I would like to focus a little more on organic ambient, maybe, since it's ambient, the main thing I'm doing right now. But since I have also some monikers which are specialized in other things, I like to focus probably one week. I say, okay, now it's organic music, and I just immerse myself into the sort of things I like listening to, other beautiful compositions, and try to just get in the mood. And after that, it's just me in front of my computer and then jamming until something happens. And I really love randomness in my music. So what I do is I literally almost all the time improvise. That's contrary to classical music, which is the opposite of that. And I just, let's say, fool around until I get something that to my ears is not horrible, and then I try to develop the idea. But it kind of depends. Of course, when I like to do cinematic music, which is more layered with certain elements, it's less about improvisation and more okay, I have to think maybe of what strings are going to do, what the piano is going to do. But the improvisation part is almost always present, at least in a part, of that process. When I do neoclassical stuff, it's the opposite, of course, because I have to write in front of actual sheet of music, and then, all the things you have to do. And then I can recover some of my harmony lessons, some composition lessons I got in a conservatory. But that's, at least I know that scheduling a certain week, I know I have to do that and that. So let's say roughly I scheduled the week or a couple of days to do something like that, and that's it. And then it's just having fun.
Domy, I just wanted to commend you. I was just looking through your catalog on, pick your streaming platform, but I was going through, and here's a fun fact for you. And maybe you already knew this, maybe you didn't, but you had 16 releases in the year 2022. You had 16 releases in the year 2023. And as of right now, as of record date, you have 16 releases with the 2024 timestamp on them, which is just awesome. And I'm sure, we're not recording at the end of the year, so I'm sure you've got more to come before the end of the year. But man, if nothing else, first of all, well done on being prolific with all that.
Thank you so much.
I would love to hear more about what that calendar looks like for you. Is this the sort of, heartbeat from you that just wants to say yes to everything, no matter what? Or are you very methodical and you're like, hey, I'm going to put something out every, certain number of weeks or certain number of months, and here's how long it's going to be? I just want to hear a little bit more about just your thought process behind how all of these, incredible releases in all of the, going with different labels, we're looking at, everything from, Valley View and Echoes in the Valley to the Signal Alchemy stuff. And, beyond that, certainly with, other things coming up with other labels in the future. Just tell me about that process. Are you crazy intentional? Are you just letting caution, go to the wind or somewhere in between?
Well, one thing that happened after my classical studies is that I started to feel like super concerned about the performance of whatever I was doing. And that is like the dark side of, classical music performance in general. So what happened basically is that everything I did was not good enough because I used to compare myself to, top-notch performers and stuff like that. So what happened with all that is that even if I used to think of myself as someone who can be, kind of have fun while making music, creating stuff, even if it's not like the best thing in the world, I was having fun doing that. After, that period of time, which was pretty long actually, I started to have a lot of self-doubt in general. So what happened is that I went from, when I was like 14, I had my first release on Beatport. And after that, I used to have maybe a release, at least 7, 8 releases like every year after that. But, after going through that phase with classical music, I started having a really hard time to create something I was at least happy enough to, share with other people. And I do remember struggling with that a lot. So what happened is that I simply stopped. I kept doing music, but, I stopped sharing my music online. It was very hard for me to let things go.
Sure.
So in response to all that period of time, what happened is, after I started gaining back the fun of creating music, I started, feeling, oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe I can let myself go with this one. And then it was just once a month and then twice a month. And then it was 4 times a month. And now it has become something like, it's something I need to do. Like I really have this need to just stay in front of my computer and create and jam and do stuff. So as long as my ears tell me it's decent, it started with Submit Hub in 2021. I simply, the first person I talked about on ambient music was Henrik Lauge from Ambient Soundscape, which many of the listeners, it's a pretty famous name in the ambient genre, and, it was the first person I sent an ambient track to, and he said to me, this is actually pretty good. You have something longer than that. And, after that, it was just, I started having fun doing the ambient music. And as soon as I got my fun part back, it's just a matter of me sitting in front of a computer. And then, it's crazy because I used to be super strict with whatever thing I was doing. Like, I do remember spending months on a single page of whatever classical piece of music I was studying. Like, literally months on a single page, which could, last 30 seconds or so in an execution. But it's crazy because now it's the complete opposite. I mean, I have fun. And as long as I have fun and I'm inspired, I feel, then I can send some of these things to labels. Usually, it's nice to be able to speak with, I don't know, the label manager or other people working in the label and hear their feedback and stuff like that. And usually I'm lucky enough because usually my stuff doesn't get declined. So at least there's that. So yeah, there's a high output.
It's good, man. It's good. It's good.
Thank you so much, really. But yeah, I mean, it's just because I have a lot of fun. I like scheduling things. So of course, I like to give myself some rules. As I said before, in a certain week, I'm going to focus on an organic ambient. And then I start creating, I don't know, something like 2 to 3 tracks daily. And then, of course, not 100% of those tracks will end up like shared publicly, but I really have a high output and I'm very glad about that because I used to be someone that had, in a period of time, I did even like 2-3 tracks yearly. So that's a very nice counter thing to that period of time. So I hope I answered your question because I said so many things.
Very much so, man.
Okay.
No, and I thank you for being honest and transparent about just some of your internal questions and doubts and dialogue with yourself. I think it's something that I think has been talked a lot about on this podcast, but the idea of just publishing the work, like get the work out there and how much better you become as a composer, as a musician, as a producer when you focus on quantity, not for the sake of I need to have 400 tracks out there, but like let me be okay with just putting this out the door. And of course, 6 months from now or 6 years from now, I'm going to look back on that and say there are things that I would change. But at the same time, like there is value to it being out in the world right now. And who am I to say that that's not a good fit, for somebody who's listening that particular day or for if it were to be licensed, that it's not a good fit for, who am I to say that?
Yes.
So I'm with you in the idea of it's one of those funny cycle things where the more that you decide to just go for it, the better you actually wind up becoming. Where before, when you don't publish as much or you don't send as many, how, like you said, how you spent so long on just a little 30-second clip, how funny it is that if you just send it out the door, then you're able to look at those 30-second clips in a different way and able to make decisions quicker, able to understand that your self-worth is not completely tied up in what choice you made on a certain measure in a certain in a certain time stamp on a certain song, and then you just you become just a better artist, period,
overall. I never understood when I was little why my teacher wasn't super like after a performance. I went directly straight to my teacher and said, I did this note wrong and at this page at this particular moment. And I never understood why he always used to say to me, that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And what I see today especially when I produce for, younger artists like singers and stuff like that, they are so concerned about like a single wrong note, but they lose focus of the big picture. And I think in a way, this is very similar to what I used to experience with my music when I was younger. As you said, it's not that particular piece of music, which is not perfect, which is never going to be perfect. Even in 100 years, you're never going to be able to do the perfect piece of music. It's not going to dictate all the rest of your career. So it's better to just, become better at your craft instead of, always overthinking things and, keeping things to yourself and not having someone maybe telling you something. I mean, thanks to Summit Hub with the feedbacks and stuff like that, I started to understand more. I used to also send lo-fi stuff. I had the luck to meet very interesting curators that actually pointed me a lot of, let's say, things that could have been improved in my lo-fi stuff. Sure. Like with ambient, I don't know, maybe it was more like in my ballpark for some reason. But I mean, I do remember feeling satisfied even when I got declined on those services because, at least you go back with some new knowledge compared to before, which is something you couldn't gain if you had all those things getting taking dust in your hard drive. So, it's very important to just let yourself go when it comes to music in general, in arts in general.
Yeah.
Like even, when you have to perform, like talking from my point of view, even if you have to perform like classical piece of music, just let yourself go, because you're going to learn so much more by doing it than just thinking of it and thinking what could go right or what could go wrong in general.
I love that, man. Wow, there's a lot to be said from all that, but thank you so much for pressing in. So good. Domy, with the amount of stuff that you're releasing right now, I know it can be kind of unfair to say what release or what releases are you excited about, because I was just talking about this at one of our recent roundtables, actually, but the idea of like, do you even have enough time to celebrate one of your releases that you're really proud of? Because there's another one coming like 2-3 weeks later, and it just goes like that.
Usually it's every 2 weeks, usually,
Yeah, there you go. That is its own unique problem, and I understand that. But okay, so taking that into consideration, what is happening right now? What's being released right now or coming up in the next little bit that you're particularly excited about?
Well, I think it's in a couple of weeks from now. Maybe it's in a week. I'm going to release a beautiful collaboration EP with my friends Max and Lena from Center of Attention. I'm very, very excited about that, because like we just let ourselves go.
Yeah.
Like speaking of that again. But yeah, it's nice because, just there was, no goal whatsoever regarding the sound, the target. So it was just a free flow of ideas and stuff like that. I sent them something, they sent me something back, and then back and forth. And, we got this EP, which we're going to share pretty soon, and I'm super excited about that. But there's also another beautiful thing, and you know already what I'm going to talk about right now, because it's our collaboration EP, man. It's been such a beautiful journey for me. Even if it was kind of, short as a journey, it made me learn so much, especially because, I have to be honest with you right now. At the beginning, when there was the possibility of me and you collaborating, I was super anxious because, I always saw you as like this giant presence in the ambient world.
I am this super intimidating person, man. I mean, I just...
after speaking a little bit, I actually understood that you are super chill, and that made me, feel better.
Yeah.
My anxiety went away, not completely, but, there was still like that feeling of, I have to deliver a very good thing in order to, to make a good impression, because, it's something that doesn't happen every day. So yeah, I am super happy about what we did together. The only downside to that is that it's going to take a while to release that.
This is true. Our release calendars did take a while to align, but at some point in the coming year, I'm really excited to release that along with you. Yeah.
So yeah, we did something nice because we just blended our styles together. It's not like my style plus your style and vice versa. It's more like something unique that came, no other way to make that happen without me and you, like merging our creativity, whatever it is, it's very unique.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you, man. It's fun to watch for the process to have evolved into something where, both you and I just look at that release and just like, wow, this really turned out to be something special and just beyond our expectations. And that's, I receive those as gifts, right? Like I know that I'm going to bring what I bring to it. And I know that, like that for there to be, from your angle as well, like I know how great you are just as a person and how talented you are as a musician, composer, producer.
Thank you, man.
But
thank you so much.
Then, like even with all that, sometimes things go well and you release it and life just continues. And then every once in a while, there's just that special magic. And that's, I don't say that to reduce anybody's catalog or anybody's release that, just it's all a process. But yeah, all that to say there were just some really special moments and just the whole project was great. It left me already desiring for us to take another crack at it sometime in the near future.
We're gonna
maybe we should release the first one first, but then we'll keep it going. Yeah,
absolutely, man. It's been such a huge pleasure for me. So let's do it again. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Okay. Nice.
Well, man, Domy, you've been really gracious with your time. Before we roll, I would love to hit you with a couple of our all ambient lightning round questions. Are you ready for this? Lightning round.
I am.
You don't have to answer fast, but I do just want to hear whatever answer comes right off the top of your head. Just like the very first thing that you think of.
Okay.
Would love to hear what you come up with. So, Domy, what are you geeking out about right now? Is there like a release out in the world, or is there an instrument or a plug-in piece of gear, something like that, that you are extra excited about, that you are geeking out about right now?
Well, I lately rediscovered Spitfire Audio as a library manufacturer. And the only bad thing about them is that they are quite expensive, but man,
sure, there's quality money involved.
But the quality, it's like out of this world. And like, it's like cheat mode for like creativity, because it's just this huge amount of creativity just in front of you. You just press a button and then, so many ideas, and you can twist things around. And if you know your way around Ableton or whatever you use, it's just it's like kids playing and just having fun. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm waiting for the Black Friday for sure. That's
man, I was literally, because we're recording it prior to Black Friday, we might wind up be releasing the episode before Black Friday, but that's one of the few sites that I do wind up keeping an eye on come that time of year. Is there's usually something fun that they put together that it's still, their stuff is worth it any time of the year, but it is fun to watch them put together a little package that sometimes makes you say yes where you would not have otherwise.
Please take my money, please.
So, right. Yeah. Oh, that's
so
great.
Is there any more drones?
Yeah, there you go, man. What is the most recent Spitfire one that you've been playing around with?
Serendipity. It is called. Probably I said it. It's
the string one, the new string one.
Well, actually, it's like more a hybrid thing that makes.
Tell me more.
You have like these patches. You have beautiful pads, of course, as usual from Spitfire Audio, but you have these patches where you can just play your normal melody. But the funny thing is that they sampled a bunch of really unique instruments, and each note is assigned to a certain bank of instruments. If I keep playing like the middle C on the keyboard, you just get the middle C, but played each time from a different instrument. So it's a wonderful way to add randomness to your music. And even if it's lo-fi heaven, if you need to do some very dreamy, dreamy like melodic lines, or even in ambient. I already experimented like with it in ambient music, and it works like wonders, man. So really,
that's awesome.
And it's not like the most expensive one they have, so it's that's a bonus as well, And but overall, Albion, all those things, those are all beautiful libraries, and the quality. No offense to Native Instruments, because it's a beautiful brand that gives possibilities to many people around the world. But Spitfire Audio knows its stuff. It's
indeed.
They know how to make libraries for sure.
Indeed, 100%. Yeah. It'd be fun to be a fly on the wall for one of the recording sessions, and to be in Air or in Abbey Road, and when
that must be very interesting.
Yeah, crazy.
Awesome.
Love it. Well, that's awesome, man. Okay, Domy, next lightning round question. What is one weird thing about you that most people do not know?
Oh, well, just one. There are so many. Nah, just kidding. But I like to re-listen to the things I have to send to labels and stuff like 1,000 times before doing that. But it's pretty. It's not something I only do. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people in our community do the same thing, but I am really, really obsessive about that. I really I like to turn the gain all the way up when I do intros and outros, just to hear if there's a click here and there. And I'm there's a click that nobody's gonna hear, but I heard that, so I have to go back to the project and re-render everything through my analog chain. And lose a bunch of time just for that. But I am pretty sure, being obsessive is part of our community in general. It's like one of the most important
blessing
aspects.
And a curse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. No, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What is something Domy, that almost nobody would agree with you on? What is something that you believe that almost nobody else would agree with you on? You can be controversial. It can be lighthearted, just kind of a unique little thing that you're like, this is what I think. And you might be very alone in that thinking.
I think analog hardware is overrated, to be honest.
Yes. Okay, good. Defend your answer.
I'm gonna
defend it.
Yeah, if there was like David from Mixbus TV right now, which was one of my teachers in the past, it would like literally smash my head on my this part of my keyboard here. But yeah, I mean, I believe if you have like a very good sounding room and you have like good ears, like all the analog things they're trying to sell you, like if it's the next best thing, it's all voodoo stuff. And no offense to voodoo. I mean, voodoo is more like a more serious thing than analog hardware, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, it's marketing. I mean, it's just a process. It's just processing something in your music. But if it's your music, it's not good in the first place. You can have like, I have SSL here, I have Tegeler, I have a bunch of expensive things here. But you know what? I am, and this is going to be bad for my future clients probably, but I am just keeping it because it's nice to look at. Because I know some people are going to say, this guy knows his stuff because he has analog things. But, in general, it could be something if you know how to use those things. But at the same time, if I could go back to myself a couple of years ago and say, you can spend this amount of money on the new SSL Fusion or whatever compressor. And I would say, you know what, save those things for your next monitors or your next, acoustic treatment and stuff like that. That is my take on that, to be honest. Sorry for all the analog gear like fanatics. I don't know how to say that, like all those people that go crazy for analog things.
Oh, no, I hear you. I appreciate what analog brings to the equation. I also appreciate that there are alternative ways to arrive at very similar results that are way easier, way more cost effective, and sometimes can just, can do something to your workflow that puts you in a place that you do something that you wouldn't have done otherwise. So yeah, I'm with you for sure. Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
It's great.
Good to know.
It is not the answer to the best music without question. So yeah, I do agree with you. You got a partner in crime. Yep.
Okay. So it's not fully controversial. It's so and so.
When people come after you, I will be standing right behind you.
Awesome.
I'll just backing you up. No problem.
Okay, I'll let you know. I'll send you an email so you can defend me.
Right?
On forums, especially on Gearspace, we have to be super strong there. Because
there you go.
We're gonna get smashed easily.
It's true. Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
But I respect analog in general, analog hardware. I respect that. I respect manufacturers and stuff. They must eat as well as we do. So
of course. And it's not to say that their stuff isn't brilliant, it
awesome.
truly is. It's just the question of like when someone says that is the only way that you can achieve something of value, or there is no way that this caliber of output or this particular, like little bit of character that it adds to your thing, that there is no other way, period, that you can arrive at that same solution. That's where I would join you in the argument and say,
yes,
I think that there are other ways. So yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, music is a huge bunch of harmonics. So if you know your stuff around that, you can dial in the perfect amount of it's like, using spices. So if you want to distribute those on your plates with the analog stuff or in other ways, the important thing is the balance and all the things like making the listener having a nice experience from your music. That is the goal.
Absolutely.
I am just sad when I see people like having like super bad sounding rooms and then you see them with like a stack of 1176 compressors and then they have like the most expensive Rupert Neve thing. It's whatever, your money, your decisions, but if you maybe next time think about that again, please.
Yeah, that's a good word, man. That's a good word for sure, and you're in good company on that.
Awesome.
Oh
awesome.
Man, Domy, last question for you is what advice would you have for someone who comes up to you and says, hey, I love what you're doing. I'm inspired by you and I would love to follow in your footsteps. What advice would you give that person?
Just let yourself go, please. Don't do my mistake. Just let yourself go and, have fun creating things, because, if you have fun, you can keep doing those things for a very long time, because without fun, there's how can you even imagine yourself doing the same thing in a year or so? So have fun, let yourself go, because with time, with dedication, you'll 100% get better. That's something that is 100% true. It's like seeing the sun coming up every day. It's 100% sure it's going to happen. So those are the things. Let yourself go and have fun and keep creating. That's all you need.
That's such a good word. I love that. We're going to end right there. Domy, you are a pleasure. I love every chance that we get to connect and just wish that there were more of them. And so let's just make it so. Let's just
absolutely, man. It's been wonderful to be here. Really, really. Thank you so much for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. I'm sure it won't be the last, but keep on doing what you're doing and we'll see you next time.
I will.
For sure. Thank you for listening to the All Ambient podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can catch every conversation we have with all these incredible people who share the same passion. I'm looking forward to the next time, and I hope you are too. Can't wait to see you then, and until then, have an incredible day. Here's hoping this music and the heart behind it makes your day and life that much better. We'll see you next time.